Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and today I'm foraging and exploring in the beautiful town of Baden-Baden in Germany. Some people would even say this is the most beautiful town in Europe. Certainly a lot of Russians would say that. It used to be the standard emigration destination for wealthy Russians for over 100 years. Well, it was in the 19th and early 20th century, and then got interrupted by 70 years of Soviet Union. But now the Russians are back. I've rarely seen so much blonde hair and so many blown up lips. And yeah, here I am in this beautiful little town. Funny enough, 100-something years ago, the jet set used to say the capital of Europe in winter is Paris, but in summer it's Baden-Baden. And like with many fancy places, I hope to find a lot of fancy trees and especially fruit trees. Let's see what we can get. I'm here at the famous Lichtenauer Allee, I think it's called, near the little river of Oos, one of those super clear little rivers coming from the Black Forest. There is quite a big park around this Lichtenauer Allee, so let's see what we can explore, forage and snatch from here. Aha, there are labels. I totally approve of that. Malus coccinella. Well, it's not apple season yet. Those apples will not grow a lot, but right now they will be sour and astringent, so I'm not foraging them. Near this beautiful old metal bridge, there is a selection of magnolias. This could be Magnolia macrophylla. Look at those big fruits. Don't they look exactly like sour sops? Is it macrophylla? Come on, where is your label? Oh no, sorry, it's Magnolia tripetala. I was wrong. Yummy silverberry. You can eat the fruit and the seed. However, it's in season in winter, in early spring. Now we are in late June, so we have to search for other fruits. Here, a young elderberry shrub, purple-leafed and laciniated. Well, in a couple years this will produce, well, apparently it already did produce 2 flower bunches, which produce just a couple fruits. Flowers and fruits are edible, delicious, and also medicinal. There is a bit of a problem with foraging rhododendrons. Some of them are edible, but some of them are highly toxic, so stay away from them. The infamous black mad honey of the Himalayas is usually made from rhododendron, and there is even one account in which in Anatolia the locals destroyed the whole Roman army just by leaving out a lot of beehives in the middle of a stand of yellow rhododendron. So the bees collected the poisonous nectar and the Romans ate the honey, and the Roman army was basically gone. A honey locust. The giant fruits of this plant are kind of edible, but it's difficult to find them in an edible state, definitely not in June. The gingerbread tree. That might sound very promising, and there is a gingerbread tree in the tropics and subtropics which is edible, but this one, unfortunately, it's not. There is one reason it's called the gingerbread tree. The leaves, when slightly wilted and slightly dried, let's see this one, and they have kind of a sweet aromatic flavor which reminds one of gingerbread and stuff. Right now it's very weak because there are only single leaves on the ground, but in autumn it can be stronger. Beautiful park, catalpa in full flower, beautiful oaks, here a pyramidal oak, a lot of different oaks, here a beech with laciniated leaves. I mean, Baden-Baden is a place that attracts a lot of rich people. It has the highest proportion of millionaires in all of Germany, so they take care of the gardens. No, not the millionaires. I don't think the millionaires take too much care of the public parks, but the millionaires are supposed to spend money here, and then the city or the town takes care of the public parks, and they look pretty well cared for. Here another type of beech with hanging leaves. Beech nuts are edible, although there are some reports that they're actually toxic and you can eat only the oil that's made from them. I've eaten a couple. I don't know if I was in a survival situation and would eat bigger amounts if it would be advisable, so maybe tell me, what about eating beech nuts? The laurel cherry from the Balkans and the Caucasus. Germans say it's poisonous, other nations eat it, and yeah, the fruits are still unripe. It's a cherry that ripens very late. Another fruit shrub from the Caucasus is this Armenian bramble here. It was introduced to large parts of Europe as a fruit shrub 100 years ago, and now it's invasive in large parts of Europe. Whoa, the sun is burning. It's 12 o'clock. It's still kind of coolish here near the river and in this big park, but we are in a heat wave right now. We are at the end of June with the strongest light. That means, among other things, the videos look almost like Photoshop because the light is so great. But of course, sunburn is also an option. Here a couple linden trees are smelling the wonderful medicinal and also enjoyable flowers, which can make a great tea. And here another beech with purple leaves. A black walnut. In Europe it's mostly used as an ornamental and to a small degree as a timber species. However, in North America, where it originates, it's a full-fledged nut tree. It's being used like other nut species. And the good thing is the shell is so hard that at least until May you can collect edible black walnuts on the ground. I don't see a single one now. They are cleaning too well here. If you try the same with the Persian walnut, which is the only walnut cultivated to a serious extent in Europe, if it rains, the fruits don't last 3 days, while the black walnut can last many months after it falls to the ground. The paper mulberry tree is hanging full of fruits. Look at them. However, they are unripe. In a couple weeks they will turn orange, and they are tasty enough, but you cannot eat everything. You don't eat this green ball, you just eat a lot of orange blobs that come out of it. Also, the bark is not only good for paper, but if you, I will not do it obviously, but if you strip one strip of the bark, it makes for perfect ropes and for perfect, basically ropes, bandages, whatever. It's basically indestructible if you don't have a sharp tool. What's this? It looks a bit like a stink ash. It smells a bit like Philodendron amorense. It is closely related to the stink ash and to oranges and stuff. It's the Amur cork tree. Most of the cork worldwide is being produced from cork oaks around the Mediterranean, but the Chinese, they are producing cork from this thing, Philodendron amorense. Always be careful when touching those things. Rutaceae or citrus relatives, they can burn your skin very often, especially in connection with hot sun. It's beautiful and very diverse. I would even call this an arboretum. There must be over I don't know, man, could be up to 100 tree species in this park, but so far haven't found anything edible. What is this? Quercus myrcinifolia from Asia. It looked almost like an avocado. For a minute I dared to hope, but no. And yes, we are currently trying to establish avocados in Germany. So far we are mostly failing, but we are not giving up. Oh, Nyssa sylvatica. It's supposed to have kind of ediblish fruits once they are ripe, but they are not supposed to be really great. This park, however, with those little bridges over the river, or well, here you can call this river actually a canal, is pretty beautiful. That should be another Nyssa, I guess. It's a fancy place. Well, the public parts are a fancy place, but there are a lot of places too fancy for people like you and me. There are gatekeepers and stuff. Yeah, customs that are usually not too common in Germany, but here in Baden-Baden it happens. Here a beautiful little species of horse chestnut flowering like crazy, really amazing. Some of those are supposed to be edible, but to be honest, I never found the horse chestnut fruit I could eat, which isn't a problem because in our area it's full of good edible chestnuts. We don't need to eat horse chestnuts, but it would be interesting. This should be a handkerchief tree. Where is the label? Come on, you must have here. Yeah, Davidia, exactly. It has, in spring it has, well, or in early summer, it has leaves which look like handkerchiefs. However, here I already see the fruits, so flowering season is over. There are also fruits from last year. Fruits are unfortunately not edible, but funny story which I have told elsewhere is that actually the guy who was looking for the handkerchief tree described it like that to the Chinese, that they brought him to the kiwi vine. He considered the kiwi vine his biggest failure ever because he wanted to find this here and not some stupid edible fruit. Did I mention that we are in a heat wave? It's around 12 o'clock now. I guess around 3 o'clock the river's gonna fill up. A testimony to the mild climate. A nice big camellia, which a stupid gardener has whacked with the weed whacker. Yeah. Baden-Baden is basically situated in the Black Forest, which is a cold and rainy part of Germany, but it's at the edge of the Black Forest, so in those parks a lot of not so frost hardy things can grow. And I really hope to find a couple of them. Here we have a holly with pretty big leaves. Is it just a cultivar of the common holly? Ah no, it's a different Ilex castanifolia. Oh yeah, the river is filling up, but almost never with Germans. A hazelnut shrub is native to this area, and I think, well, is it a cultivar? I mean, the fruits are a bit on the bigger side. Could be some cultivar, could also be just the wild genotype that was planted here. Oh, no cherries on this wild cherry. They should be in season now, but apparently they are not. The Kentucky coffee tree is definitely not in season, but young fruits should be visible already. No coffee for us today, I guess. Well, it's not in season anyways, they must be ripe first. It looks pretty nice up there, but I think I'll turn around, see what I can find that way. The Cornell cherry is not closely related to the real cherries, but it has smallish red fruits with one seed. It's more sour and astringent than real cherries, but it's being eaten. It's not unpleasant, and because it's so sour and astringent, it's a good medicine against diarrhea. You have the runs, you eat a small handful of those fruits, and you are good to go, or you are good to stay, to hold, to keep. I don't know, man. Is this an oak? Quercus velutina. To be honest, so far I heard considerably more Bulgarians than Russians here. Strange. I mean, it's not that Bulgarians don't like this place, but still. This should be an Acer pseudoplatanus, but the leaves don't add up exactly, so let's look for a label. Beautiful tree. Over 1.5 meters thick, multi-stemmed, 4 or 5 stems, depends on how you want to count them. Come on, dude. Why don't you have a label? Yeah. Not sure, man. Nah. Probably not Pseudoplatanus, probably another maple species. I would like to go into the neighborhoods with the fancy mansions. They often grow more interesting stuff than the public parks. But I'm a bit on the lazy side. I just came from Bulgaria and I'm on my way to Heidelberg, so yeah, maybe let's do the fancy, famous public parks. Of course, the tiny Phoenix rubellini are part of the temporary flower arrangement. In autumn, the flowers will go in the trash and the little date palms will go back in the greenhouse. However, if you are lucky, you can find ripe fruits even in Germany because they are being kept in a greenhouse half the year. This species from the Mekong area is not gonna survive a German winter outdoors. In the Mediterranean, they stay outdoors all year round. Parotia persica. This thing really looks like a parrot when in autumn, when it changes its colors. It's a crazy mix of red, yellow, and purple. And wait, is this Parotia? No, this looks like Hamamelis. Oh, I told something stupid there. Oh, it's Parotia persica, a close relative of Hamamelis. I don't remember ever seeing fruits of Parotia. Yeah, they totally look like Hamamelis fruits. Well, it's also called the Persian ironwood. Ironwood is a generic name used for different timbers in different parts of the world, and in Persia this thing with usually small dimension and not very straight wood is called ironwood because it's basically the hardest timber you can get there. Tulip trees, the biggest and most dominant trees in the eastern US. I know in the western US you have sequoias which are even bigger, but in the east those are the biggest. Beautiful flowers that look like tulips. And yeah, I like them. Also, they have very beautiful leaves in autumn. Yeah, very beautiful yellowish reddish leaves, which I like very much. When I was younger, I would collect a lot of colored leaves in autumn from the trees. Later I did it with my children, haven't done it for a very long time. Now I kind of missed it a little bit. Every year I think I'll grab a thick book, well nowadays you don't use books for anything else anyway, and put the leaves inside to press and dry them, but I never do. It's a pity. In such a park at the right time in autumn, you can find almost any color on an autumn leaf. And of course fruits, you can find more fruits in autumn than now in June. I'm actually hoping for cherries, mulberries, maybe the first plums, maybe a couple strawberries, who knows. It's not really fruit season, but there are a couple fruits which are already ripe. Oh, Austria, the hop hornbeam. The seeds are supposed to be edible, but stay away. The fruits are covered with little hairs which act like itching powder. I tried to eat the fruits and regretted it. Here, a little edible chestnut tree just finished flowering. They can get pretty big, basically like the oak in the background. This one is quite young and small. Of course, chestnuts are one of the most important survival foods in tropical, subtropical, well, let's say in warm temperate areas, in subtropical areas, and even in tropical areas. Yes, they are tropical. There's a plethora of tropical chestnut species. I've foraged chestnuts on the equator, different species of chestnuts in equatorial rainforests. Very important survival food, or just very important staple food. Used to be the staple food of tens of millions of people. And nowadays in spring, the honey from the plentiful flowers is also very valuable. Like if you have a chestnut forest somewhere, all the beekeepers are gonna be your best friends, I guarantee. Platanus x acerifolia. Beautiful giant trees, very good for urban environments. They can deal with a lot of water in winter and with droughts in summer. They are beautiful, they grow without much care. But fruits, and also to some extent the leaves and the young branches, are itching powder, folks. This is the itching powder tree. Well, I guess this is another itching powder tree after the Austria. There are many itching powder trees if you know where to look. Well, this is the alley itself. There is a little bit of confusion because when you say alley, the Americans think of an alley, which is basically a narrow between houses somewhere in a ghetto filled with rats and trash and where people are being mugged. An alley in Europe is not just in German but in most European languages is basically a fancy avenue with nice trees. So only the fanciest streets can call themselves alley, and not even all the fanciest streets. You need really nice and impressive trees to bear that name. Baden-Baden has more than its fair share of museums and of course a couple art museums. Art, especially modern art, is maybe one of the easiest ways to steal taxes. You just buy some piece of art, then you appraise it for 100 times the money you bought it for, and then you donate it to a museum, and you can basically deduce millions from your tax bill. Yeah, you need art museums in order to do this. So since there are so many millionaires here who don't want to pay taxes, art museums are really well stocked in this small town. A couple more phoenix palms in pots. This is Phoenix canariensis. It has bigger fruits than Rubellini. There are some ideas that this stuff could survive outdoors in Middle Europe and Germany, but so far all the experiments have failed. Yeah, and here already the next art museum, door to door with the previous one. Yeah, those poor millionaires, they really need to evade taxes. They need to evade taxes really hard, and for that they need all those beautiful art museums. Beautiful huge yew tree. I found an even bigger one around here. It's amazing. Well, this here is probably almost 100. Well, when I look at it from here, it's maybe over 100 years old. Really huge for a yew tree, but I saw an even more impressive one nearby. The European yew, maybe the most toxic plant and definitely the most toxic fruit on the continent. The fruit itself you can eat, but if you bite into the seed or into the fruit stalk or into the leaves, if you just eat a tiny amount of any of those, let's say, probably not gonna decompose for some time. Oh, nice old ginkgo trees. They don't look that thick, but they start to produce shishis up there, at least this one. This is not too common in Europe, only old ginkgo trees do this. A beautiful fountain surrounded by daylilies. Interesting, they've become increasingly popular in Germany and also in Bulgaria. In Bulgaria I also see them everywhere. Okay, I cannot resist. I guess it's totally illegal, but I need to eat one of the one of the tasty flowers. In Germany this is called Muntraub. It's basically stealing food to satisfy your hunger. I don't think they can find me for that. I forgot the name of that beautiful tree with the fruits. Halle Schneeglöckchenbaum. Oh, was it Halleria lucida or something? Halesia carolina. I was completely wrong. I think it has beautiful flowers in spring and now it has beautiful fruits, but I don't think they're edible. What family are they from? Turaceae. Turaceae are not really well known for their edibility. I think this short tree there could be a flowering dogwood. Not only are they flowering, they're also producing a plethora of big and tasty fruits. But in autumn, now I'm too lazy to cross the river. Maybe if it gets a little bit hotter in an hour or two, I'll do it. Oh, somebody threw a canna flower into the river. See the red flower? Canna edulis. Every part of the plant is edible. Beautiful park. I guess it ends here. Let's see what we can find in other parts of town. Here are the linden trees, yeah. Flowering season is already towards its end. Did I mention that this is a fancy town? Look at that. That's a theater, but I saw something much bigger and fancier, which was also some sort of theater nearby. Beautiful. See the European horse chestnuts? The fruits are still small. When they grow bigger, they can be used as soap. They cannot be used as food. They can be used as soap. They can be used as poison, although I don't think it's a very potent one. But they can be used as explosives. Yeah, the Brits, they dropped, I think, thousands of tons of ammo made from those things on the German. It's basically, yeah, there is a lot of starch inside, so you can use it to produce an explosion. Fieserbrücke. Fieser means nasty. It means like nasty guy, unpleasant guy. So this is supposed to be an unpleasant bridge. Well, looks pleasant enough to me. Also look at the olive trees. They have put some pretty old olive trees in pots. Olives survive this surprisingly well. And when it's being done to save them from a construction site or so, I approve of it. But a lot of, well, not really olive farmers, but heirs and children and grandchildren of olive farmers think, why work my butt off to get a couple pounds of olives each year when I can sell such a tree for hundreds of euros and big ones for tens of thousands of euros to spend the rest of their lives in a pot. This here should be the Himalaya palm. The fruits are nothing special, but the heart is edible. It's invasive in parts of Switzerland. It's taking over Swiss forests. Sophora japonica, the Japanese pagoda tree. The sticky fruits are unfortunately not edible, but the flowers seem to be edible. However, for me they are too bitter. Oh look, wood sorrel. Not closely related to the real sorrel, but just as sour. Don't eat too much of it, it's bad for your kidneys. Bananas in a pot. However, I suspect that those are all the frost hardy Musa basio. Yeah, I think those are the frost hardy Musa basio. You don't need to grow them in pots around here. You can grow them in the ground, but okay, I guess the ground here is not too conducive to anything, and especially to growing bananas, so let's keep them in pots. Well, there are attempts to grow the oleander outdoors in Germany already. It's a Mediterranean plant. It usually freezes back a little bit, but nowadays it kind of survives. However, its survival is not without peril. It's another one of the most toxic plants in Europe. The oleander, just like the yew and a couple other super toxic plants, is super popular for landscaping. I mean, it's not being attacked by too many pests. Look, there are some bright yellow aphids on it. I guess the bright yellow color says, come on, focus. The bright yellow color tells all the predators that they should stay away from those aphids, because they are totally soaked in, they are totally soaked in oleander toxins and thus not edible. Did I mention that this is a fancy place even for German standards? This is basically the old town, and I really suspect that the rarest trees and plants will be in the hundreds of fancy mansions around in the outskirts of Baden-Baden, but I don't have so much time, so let's go to the Kurpark. Oh wait, first look at that. A bunch of lemons in pots. Lemon season is of course over, so we are not gonna harvest anything from those trees right now. Oh, a lot more lemons in pots here. Now we are in the Kurpark, and here is also the Kur house. People from the Balkans or Turkey, they will laugh at the name Kurpark or Kur house because it translates roughly to Dick Park or Dick House. However, no, it doesn't come from that. It comes from the Latin word curare, which means to care for. And yeah, those are the parks and the houses they used to care for the sick people. Usually because there was some really medicinal water nearby. Oh, look at that Oregon grape. You can only eat the fruits processed. And here's some St. John's wort. Good against winter depression, but don't drink the tea in summer, you'll get sunburn. Oh, Saskatoon season is over. So fast. Well, of course, it got very hot and dry very quickly. Those little fruities. Super tasty. Fortunately, one of the many plants that are being mostly used as ornamentals here and not for their fruits. The no, that's the Trinkhalle, the drinking hall. Now, oh, look, and with a couple nice big sequoias in the background. So, if you think drinking hall, well, it's a very important part of Germanic culture. Oh, look at that, flowering dogwood. This will be covered with hundreds of tasty fruits in a couple months. And here the mahogany maple. Well, anyways, the Trinkhalle. If you think long-bearded people with horned helmets are drinking beer from more horns here, you are totally mistaken. It is a hole where you go to drink medicinal water, often very smelly water. And Mark Twain has once wrote a short story about this drink hole. I mean, you can see that it's incredibly fancy. Basically looks like a Roman temple or a palace, and its only purpose is to go there and drink water. Oh, what is this here? What are those fruits? Ah, those are the fruits of the handkerchief tree. Not edible, unfortunately. Well, anyways, and Mark Twain told a story how bad they treated him in this hall in the 20th century, in the 19th century. And so when I came here, I thought they would still treat me like shit. I mean, it's fit for such a fancy place. Let's put it to the test. So you basically enter the colonnade. Look at all those murals. It's like a cathedral or a Roman temple. Oh, are you Vestal Virgins, girls? Are you? Then you open the door. Basically, Mark Twain trembled every time he did this. And then you get into the drinking hall. Oh, no drinking water? But that's the purpose of this hall. What is this? Very strange. So where is the drinking water? Hallo, Entschuldigung, wo ist denn hier das Heilwasser?
Bitte?
Ach, da wo...
Ja, aber Sie dürfen das nicht trinken.
Also, das ist das berühmte Heilwasser von Baden-Baden, aber es ist nicht trinkbar.
Genau.
Oh, okay, vielen Dank. Okay, at least in Mark Twain's time, you could drink the water and basically, oh, it's hot. Is it, It doesn't smell of sulfur, so it's hot mineral water, not smelling of sulfur. Well, in his time, basically, he said like he would drink a cup of this water and then ask the people here, the staff in this hall, how much, and they said as much as you want, and then they would treat him like shit when he gave them 1 cent, and they would treat him like shit when he gave them $10, and basically it was a horrible ordeal for him. But no, not being able to drink is almost a bigger ordeal. But at least the stuff is super nice. He was even apologetic that the water is not poussé. He was apologetic that the water is not drinkable. I think it is, but I think there is a possibility that you'll get the runs if you drink it. Yeah, still very beautiful, very fancy building. Yeah, if you ever come to this part of Germany, definitely visit Baden-Baden. Doesn't get much fancier than that. See, they have screwed together the big branches of this itching powder tree with iron ropes, and the tree has grown around the ropes. Crazy. Shall we explore the Richard Park? I wonder. Kinda a little bit lazy. Let's see from below. So they have a bunch of nice sequoias. Maybe it's worth going up there and saying hello to those giant trees. Magnolias, rhododendrons, a bramble, but this is not the Armenian bramble. This is a different species, most probably a native one. And oh, finally some foraging. It might not be much, but it's honest theft. Nice and aromatic, but half dry. So even before most of the bramble fruits are ripe, the drought can totally be felt. Yeah, those Kur parks are usually a very good address if you are looking for a collection of rare trees. Wherever there is a sanatorium, the chance that there is a Kur park is very high, and the chance that those parks are more diverse than your average park is also pretty high. I foraged for boletos in this park, but in a much wetter year. A European wild forest strawberry. Tiny but delicious. This here is basically dried up, but two blackberries and half a dozen tiny strawberries. We're gonna eat tonight. Yeah, but probably nothing we foraged. Those are mountain maples. Oh, here, by the way, Igopodium podagraria, one of the staple foods of the Germans in the hungry years after the wars. But here the maples, yeah, those are the European sugar maples. In Nordic areas, in mountain areas, they were being tapped in spring, and tapping them meant the difference between survival and starvation for many people. They got fresh water, good sugar, and a lot of vitamins and minerals in early spring when there was not much around. That was the time when people were dying from starvation and scurvy, and when they would tap this maple. Nice meager meadows. Oh, and some rhododendron used to grow here, now it's gone. Or rather some, what was the name of the deciduous rhododendrons? They have a different name now. And here a giant beech tree has died. The drought of the last couple years killed a lot of trees. Look at this amazing thing. It's well over 2 meters thick, and there is a cavity inside which is well over 1 meter thick. I think you can put 5 people standing inside this cavity. Amazing, and also so sad. This was a very prominent tree. Look, it is standing on a little outcrop of this hill. It is standing above the drinking hole. Well, it was standing above the drinking hole. It was truly gigantic. What a pity. Not particularly ancient, Look at those giant rings. Some are half a centimeter, some are over a centimeter thick, meaning in some years it would grow a centimeter in thickness. Here a couple of suckers and so on. Yeah, really prominent tree. This tree was put here with a purpose. It was put alone with a purpose. Look at that. Nothing for 20 meters. Even the sequoia trees are in the background like humble servants behind this beech tree. And now that the master is gone, I guess it's sequoia anarchy. Yeah, sequoias, the biggest trees in the world. Not the tallest ones. Well, the tallest are probably the coastal sequoias, or maybe some eucalyptus species, or maybe duck firs. Also not the thickest ones. Thickest ones are maybe Mexican swamp cypresses, or maybe European chestnuts. But the most massive ones are the sequoias. Everything about them is massive. The rind can get up to 40 centimeters thick and is fire resistant. That's why they don't burn in forest fires. And actually the forest fires just cause their cones to open and release the seeds. So whenever there is a forest fire, there will be a lot of sequoia seedlings in the next year. Also look at that. Two of those giant trees have been cut down. Oh, and look at that. The lumberjacks have been playing tic-tac-toe here. Did anybody win? Nah, of course. It's a draw, like always. Yeah, but look at that. Also, almost 2 meters thick. Here you can see how thick the rind is, and this is a young tree. On an old tree, the rind would be about as thick as the space between my legs, and the tree would be, of course, 10 times thicker. Also, this tree is not really dead. Those sequoias, they cooperate like many other trees, so their roots are fused underground, so that this tree, sometimes, I don't know why they did this tic-tac-toe here, maybe they didn't know that this stump can stay as a living monument for several decades because it's being fed by the other trees, because they have this giant network of roots underground, which is very useful. I mean, if one tree stands closer to a creek, it can pump water to the other trees. If one tree stands at the more fertile ground, it can pump nutrients to other trees. If one tree stands with less competition, yeah, even sequoias experience competition. I mean, remember, they grow in places where duck firs and giant pines and other trees grow. So if one tree stands at a sunnier place, it will produce and send more sugars to the other trees. It's a super organism. Beautiful. Would be interesting to come after 30 or 40 years and check for them. There is an arboretum in Heidelberg where I checked some sequoia stumps, and they were alive 40 years after the trees had been cut down. I checked them again 20 years later, so 60 years after they were cut down, and couldn't find those stumps anymore. Here, by the way, they have replaced the fallen trees with 2 new ones. Beautiful Court Park. Let's start heading back into town. Oh, wait a moment, I remember something about the Trinkhalle. A couple years ago when I visited it, they had cakes and drinks, and the prices were actually really low, especially for such a fancy etablissement. Oh, look at all those fancy hotels there. Can you see how palace-like they are? Yeah, definitely the fanciest town in Germany and one of the fanciest in Europe. Let's go and try to have a drink at the Trinkhalle. A nice purple variety of the daylily. They are all edible and tasty. Interesting mixture of sweet and spicy and umami and something neurotoxic in them. But they are good. They are good. They are really good. I like them. Back in the fancy temple, the Vestal Virgins are gone, but the beautiful murals and other stuff are still here. I feel like in the Vatican. It's about as fancy as it gets. I kind of feel out of place here, but who cares? I asked what to get, and they told me, of course, since you had the Black Forest, you get the Black Forest cake. Oh well, at least I'm gonna get one cherry cut in half. And literally smothered in sweet syrup. Prices have gone up considerably since I was here last time, about 6 years ago, or maybe it was 12 years ago. Ah well, but for such a fancy place they are still more than acceptable. You can either just go in, take a couple selfies or come out, or you can say, I had a fancy Black Forest cake in the drinking hall of Baden-Baden. By the way, if you are wondering about the strange name Baden-Baden, it sounds almost like a joke. Well, I mean, you saw that there is hot mineral water. And wherever you have hot mineral water in Germany, you make at least a sanatorium and a couple fancy hotels and a nice park and so, and start attracting people to cure. And if you are really good at it, the German government gives you the title bad. That means you are bad. No, actually, Terry Pratchett made some jokes about this. No, it means you have a bath, not just one bathtub, but you have a bath where people come and drink the fancy water and bathe in the fancy water. So if, well, Heidelberg was always a very fancy town, but once they tried to get the title Bad Heidelberg, which would have made it even more fancy, but then they lost the mineral spring, the hot mineral spring, and they're still trying to find it again. Yeah, you can lose a spring, it happens. However, Baden used to have this name for a much longer time. It means a place where you come to bathe. Baden means to bathe. And yeah, this town had this name because people came here to bathe in the hot mineral water for a very long time. And then later, funnily enough, this name was so fancy. Well, there was a castle of Hohenbaden on one, well, there is the ruin of Hohenbaden on one of those hills around here. Basically, it means the ruin of High Bath, or the high ruin over the town of Bath. I mean, there is a town in Britain that's called Bath. I think they even have Roman baths here. Here they have a Roman Irish bath in Baden-Baden. Don't ask me what this is. Well, basically, yeah, so there was a castle of Baden over the town of Baden, and then later there was the country of Baden. You know, a country where you go to take a bath. Yeah, that's Germany. I mean, now it's fused with the country of Baden-Württemberg into the state, into the federal state of Baden. It's fused with the country of Württemberg into the federal state of Baden-Württemberg. But it's sometimes like people used to say, well, I'm going to the town of Baden in the country of Baden. And so they shortened it to Baden-Baden. Basically the funniest and at the same time fanciest name you can find in the German language, except maybe the town of fucking, which is a real thing. Yes, it exists. So folks, I think we saw enough of the fancy town of Baden. I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't see any, almost any really exceptional trees, and there was no real foraging except the fancy Black Forest tart I ate. There is even a suspicious lack of fishes in this river. I mean, I'm just coming from the nice mountain town of Triavna in Bulgaria, where the river was teeming with fishes, but here I don't see a single one. Very interesting. Oh well, it was nice and fancy, and since I landed at the airport of Baden, it's okay, it was not a big detour. Tell me what you think about this fancy little German town. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos. Well, maybe not from the beautiful and not so fruit rich town of Baden, because I'm leaving now. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.